Everyone, welcome back for a little TLC. So it is still the month of October, which means we're still in Pastors Appreciation Month. Last week we talked about how we can appreciate our pastors by supporting them and by holding up their arms. This week I'm going to be still talking about how we can appreciate our pastors, but this time I want to give us the tip of honoring our pastors by living out or walking in what they are teaching us each and every week. So, Pastors Appreciation Month, are you walking in the truth? Let's get into it. All right. Like I said last week, being a pastor is a very strenuous job. It's a lot that they can take on from week to week, sometimes multiple times a week if there are multiple services, morning worship on Sunday. Some folks have prayer meetings, you have Bible study and all of that. So pastors really do pour out a lot. And I'm sure it can feel like pointless if they're doing all this pouring out and then it doesn't seem like anybody is even listening to it or walking in the things that they are saying. There can be sometimes when we hear what our pastor is saying, but we don't actually apply it at all, or we don't think that it applies to us. Or I'm trying to think of some examples, like if your pastor gives a message on love or showing hospitality and then later learns that the members of their congregation are some of the meanest rudest folks out there, like it can just be really frustrating if you are doing all this preaching, all this teaching, all this studying, all this hooping and hollering, all this talking, and nobody is putting into practice the things that they are learning from you. When I was thinking about this, one story of Jesus came to mind where a father brought his son to the disciples because his son was possessed, and the disciples could not cast out this particular demon. And so Jesus, when he arrives on the scene, he's like, what's going on? And the man explains, I brought my son to your disciples. They weren't able to heal him. Like, what's going on here? And Jesus says, this is in Matthew chapter 17, what Jesus says is at verse 17. And he says, then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer with you? And then he asked the father to bring his son to him. And of course, Jesus is able to heal. But it was frustrating for Jesus. Y'all are, as his disciples, seeing all these great miracles. Y'all are getting teaching from this ultimate source. And for some reason, you still don't believe and still are not able to put into practice the things that you say you are learning. And so I imagine that same frustration can translate over into our pastors of today who do all of this teaching and all of this work just for it to seem like, is anybody listening? And I know in the Bible we learn that in the last days, people are going to be less likely to endure sound doctrine. But shouldn't those who are already believers, those who proclaim to be believers, who are in the church, shouldn't us, because I'm in there, shouldn't we be the ones who are appreciating our pastors by actually believing in what they say and then putting it into practice, showing that we can be practical with the religion that we are learning? That should be us. Another scripture that I was thinking about comes out of 3 John, not the Gospel of John, but like the letter. So 3 John, and here John is, I think he's talking to Gaius or Gaius, however you pronounce that. And he says in verses 3 through 4, it gave me great joy when some believers came and testified about your faithfulness to the truth, telling how you continue to walk in it. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. I'm just going to read it again. He says, it gave me great joy when some believers came and testified about your faithfulness to the truth, telling how you continue to walk in it. I have no greater joy than to hear my children are walking in the truth. So for our pastors, we can give them appreciation services. We can give them money. We can cook for them all the chicken in the world. But I believe that their greatest joy comes from hearing and seeing their children walk in the truth of the gospel that your pastor should be teaching. If they're not teaching the truth, the gospel, if they're not teaching that, then don't walk in it. But for those of our pastors who do teach sound doctrine, they want to see you walking in the truth. They want to see that you are growing in the grace and the knowledge of God. And I believe that is the best way to show your appreciation for them. That is the best way to honor them, is by actually walking in the truth, by being true to the gospel, by desiring to be a better disciple and to disciple others. Can we walk in the truth? Just a question. Yeah, I would love to know what you all think about this. How are you showing your pastor that you are walking in the truth? What are some ways that we can show that? Make sure you like, comment, and share, and I will see you next time for a little TLC. Bye-bye.